It's a Fun Away Daily. Adam Collins, Jeff Lemon here at Lords, England and Ireland, day 2 for Westfield, London and Stratford City. More extra, less ordinary. Jeff Lemon, tell us all about the day we've just seen in 30 seconds.
Won't be a day 4. We reserved this word for special occasions, but England spifflicated them today. 179 in the first session, 178 in the second. Harry Brook makes 182, the fastest 150 at Lords.
Harry Brook, Ben Duckett.
Ben Duckett. Harry Brook made 9 not out. It wasn't bad, but it wasn't worth a mention. Look, Ollie Pope makes the fastest 200 ever by an English player in Test cricket, 205. Wow. They declare it, 430 something, I wrote it down, 524 for 4. They end up leading by 325 runs, and Ireland 3 for 97, but they've got one retired hurt as well at the close.
So Ireland trail by 255. Tector's on 31, Tucker is on 21. They're put on 34. They lost McCullum in odd circumstances, retired hurt. That looks quite serious. We got a message from the Irish comms manager late in the evening session to say that he's been taken by ambulance to hospital for scans. So that's a serious end injury on his ankle, which collapsed underneath him when trying to get out the way of it.
It felt Achilles tendon-y. Like, you don't really see players go down like they've been shot like that unless it's a tendon snap.
You know when they're completely gone, he's gone. I don't know how long he'll be out for, but it won't be fielding.
He might be back in time for Ireland's next Test match in 4 years.
Yeah, precisely. More on that tomorrow. Actually, we should front foot this. There is a lot to talk about around Ireland and around where they're at and around their position in the Test cricket playing world. We're going to try and leave that to tomorrow because the game will probably finish tomorrow.
Because there are a lot of people piling in today saying, they're absolutely terrible, they shouldn't be there, they shouldn't be playing.
Is it a good thing that they're playing a Test match?
I'm just worried about them.
Shouldn't they just play a 3-day game next time and we'll play against the England Lions? Shouldn't
we just shave a little patch on their front paw and pop the injection in?
We'll deal with all that patronising bullshit tomorrow. We'll deal today with what's actually happened on the field and try and think about England a little bit, because at the end of the day, the reason why this test is in the schedule...
Back and think of England.
is because Mark Adair did a bit of that. It's because they've got 5 Ashes tests ahead of them.
Yep. So
this is why this test exists, right? It's like it was in 19. They want to get a test under their belt early in the season, second day of June today. And they have ticked every box they wanted to tick, other than having had a competitive hit out, because it didn't feel overly competitive.
And other than Johnny Bairstow getting to bat, Ben Stokes didn't get to bat. He didn't care too much about
Ben Stokes,
that.
I won't say this for Hall of Fame. I've got plenty for Hall of Fame.
Okay.
If he doesn't bat, doesn't bowl, doesn't take a catch, and they win, it'll be the first time a captain's done that in Test history.
Thanks for coming for a Test
Thanks for coming for a Test skipper where they win and where they don't take a catch. That's the other caveat.
Okay.
I think that was Xavier Voigt-Hill might have found that and popped that on Twitter. I think it was Xavier. So we'll keep an eye on that one tomorrow. So Stokes, you don't bowl. And
Stay away from the ball.
Get out of the grippers.
Stay away from the ball.
Stand at mid-on, mate. Stand at mid-on. But yeah, that's
Finally.
a thing. That's a thing. Okay.
All right. Look, I mean, it was carnage. It would have been a fair bit of fun if you were watching, if you were an England supporter. Duckett and Pope starting in the morning. They were 60 not out overnight was Duckett. Pope was 29. And it's not like they came out and cleared the front leg. Like, they were going through the covers. They were going through point. They were pretty much driving between straight and cover for most of the morning and just taking on pretty much any delivery they felt like taking on from the seamers.
It took Pope a while to get moving this morning. He wasn't quite in rhythm, which I didn't even realise that was England's quickest double ton. You said it in the summary. That was
207 balls.
Lost upon me. Stokes got a quicker 250. Not that he made 250, but he accelerated so quickly at that point.
If I cast my mind back to an episode of Storytime on our feed about 3 weeks ago, I think it was Ian Botham's double was 208 balls, and Pope did it today in 207.
Very good, very good. They hit 47 fours before they hit a 6. I thought that stood out. So this wasn't kind of like, the origin of Bazball. I went back and listened to some footage of Johnny Bairstow today, where after tea on that final day at Trent Bridge, it was the message from Stokes was every ball in the stand. This wasn't that kind of attitude. It was, we'll just play along the carpet and we will just smother them. And Ireland, if they had any hope of getting into any groove this morning, they scored 65 runs in the first 12 overs after the resumption. You can't get into rhythm if you keep having to retrieve the ball on a warm morning as well. Yeah,
exactly that. It slowed down a little bit when Andy McBrine came on for his first few overs of spin. They took a little look at him for a few overs. You have Duckett's 100 and Pope's 50 coming up in the same over. And then they pretty much just started laying into McBrine as well as they were laying into all of the seam bowlers. And away it went.
I would have used McBrine earlier.
Yeah.
I thought that was probably one little tiny misstep from Balbirnie. I mean, obviously there's no good option, but he stuck with the 4 seamers so long that when McBrine finally got a chance. They were in so much strife.
Totally.
I mean, it was that kind of day. Duckett, first game in England. We mentioned that on the pod yesterday. He's made 2 Test centuries now. This was noted by Ben Gardner. His first was 105 balls at Rawalpindi. Today was 106 balls. He went on to make the quickest 150 in the history of Lord's Test matches, which I thought was quite cute.
And it was a Bradman record. It's always nice when a Bradman record gets broken.
Oh yeah, that'll have been from the 254, I suppose. I would have thought. But yeah, the stat on TMS, which I picked up towards the end of play, I don't know if that was a quick Vizzy one or a resultsy one. Ben Duckett leaves on average 1 delivery in every 100 against seamers. I'm not sure whether that's I'm not sure what to make of that in the context of what they've got to come this summer. What do you do with your Pat Cummins, Josh Hazelwood, Michael Neser, Mitch Stark, Scott Boland? Do you set it 1.5 foot outside the off stump and do you play that game with him and force him to do what he's not comfortable with?
I think you'd be pretty happy having a player who never leaves.
But I mean, what do you do if you're the bowling team? Do you adjust your line a full foot away from the off stump?
Well, I think you bowl your conventional line and say, well, if you want to not leave the ball, that's a victory for us.
Sure.
Yeah. We want you to play. By all means, play at the ball.
Yeah, it'll be interesting because they'll know that. They'll have crunched the numbers when the time's right ahead of that first test at Edgbaston.
A note that I enjoyed, the first 50 overs of the innings, 301 for 1.
I like that
So
too.
that was a good ODI score, very good ODI score.
I did put on Twitter, like everybody else, if they bowl well in the power play, they should defend this comfortably.
Good, very good. And 179 in 29 overs across that first session. Pope brings up the ton just after lunch. Duckett starts going nuts, goes 4-4-6 in and over off McBrine, and then chops on against the run of play, if you will.
Thanks for those that picked that up last night.
Off the inside edge. And you've got on comms, they're talking about, maybe a good idea to target that inside edge with the diagonal bat. I'm like, champions, if that's what you're resorting to, if you've been reduced to trying to target the inside edge for the drag on, you're not having a very good time as a bowling team.
It was quite the partnership between Pope and Duckett, the way they were able to accelerate from a pretty quick base to start with. They went at 7 and over in the middle stanza, adding a disgusting number of runs. I can't remember exactly how many. They added 252 together. And by that point, Pope was near enough 150 himself when Duckett gets out. And again, that is against the flow of play.
And it could be a name for a pub, actually, the Pope and Duckett kind of work.
Yeah, it was Hume that got Duckett, by the way, and Hume was the one copping all the grief. He's got a pretty good first-class record, Hume, from South Africa and all the rest of it, but it's not sort of translated here. He hasn't got what I'd call a fluent action, which lends itself to criticism when it doesn't go well, and he finished with 1 for 85 from 17 without a maiden.
The bit where Pope starts picking up his pace after that, and he really goes after McBrine. This is this could be Hall of Fame too, but there's plenty of other stuff for the Hall of Fame. So a dozen overs for 86. So Andy McBrine's first 4 overs went for 13, which means his next 8 overs went for 73 in a test match.
McBrine. That's not great. I mean, he's had a great couple of years, McBrine, but it's a different. And again, this will be a conversation for tomorrow. When you're not playing red ball cricket and you're exposed to players in the type of nick this England team are in on a surface that was lovely to bat on. It's only going to end one way.
And they go, okay, and also, by the way, would you mind bowling to Joe Root, who's just going to peel off 50 or 49 balls, barely a shot in anger. Then he starts getting the scoops out and whatever. Then he's out just after tea running past one and getting clean bowled for 56 or 59, reaching 11,000 runs in the process.
Well, he accelerated too. He was 2 from 14 balls. I think he missed did he miss 2 scoops in it? Like, what's the one he does? The one he did at
the scoop towards deep
Trent Bridge. The one he does over his right. Yeah, I wonder. Is it his right shoulder? If he's here and turns around over his right shoulder. Yeah. He missed a couple of those. One got sent upstairs for a third umpire referral. He didn't touch it with his glove. It looked like it might have, but it did take him a little while to adapt to what he was in, which was one-day batting. Yeah,
and I also enjoyed that Duckett in the first session and Pope in the second session both added over 100 runs individually.
Well, Pope made exactly 100 in the middle session. So he went to lunch at 97 and went to tea at 197. So he had, he wouldn't have been, you don't, I kind of think that's played up a bit. Unless you're striving towards your first century or it's got some huge personal baggage. If you're on 97 at lunch, you're feeling pretty good about yourself.
Yeah, you're probably fine. I'll be nervous while he has his sandwiches. Well, maybe. Or maybe you'll be like, cool.
I don't think he was nervous.
No, I'm just going to play a shot. And, he wasn't nervous on 199 when he hits it for 6, goes to 205. Why not? Why not when you've got the opportunity? And then gets out the very next ball. So I kind of enjoyed that, 4 wickets fall in the innings. All of them basically are batters saying, screw it. I'm just going to do what I feel like. One whacked back at the bowler, ricochet, return catch. One charged pass, clean bowled. One charged pass, stumping, and one chopped on, trying to thrash it through extra cover for another boundary. They're not really in your sort of bowlers highlights kind of videotape.
Day for numbers. Root gets to 11,000. I still think he'll get 15,000. I'm bullish on this. I'm bullish. I think that he's made 1,000 Bazball runs, well, broadly, because he brought up his 10,000th run here at Lord's last year against New Zealand, 12 months practically to the day.
Okay.
You know, will he play? He won't score 1,000 every year, but he might score 4,000 over 5 years. Will Root be still playing Test cricket in 5 years' time? I think he will. So that's just a marker to lay there. Lawrence Booth crunched these numbers. Their last 3 innings, Ireland fielding in Test cricket, 591 for 6, 704 for 3. They were against Sri Lanka, and 524 for 4 today, which makes 1,819 for 13 in their last 3 times in the field.
Well, at least they bowled a team out. 13 wickets.
Yeah, I mean that's grasping, but
yeah.
I'll pay it.
Sure.
I'll pay it. In the circumstances, I'll pay it.
Shall we come around to the final word?
Nearly. We're nearly there. I just want to quickly touch on Ireland's second innings.
Okay.
Just gutted for Balbo, really. Both times he's felt at balls that he could have left alone, and today it was 2 in and over for Josh Tongue. He's got 3.
True.
The first of those was Moore, who again across his stumps. I don't know whether that's sustainable long term. Playing across your stumps as an opening bat in Test cricket, you're going to get, if you miss, you're out. And so it was for Tongue with his first ball of the second innings, having not taken a wicket yesterday. He also nicked off Sterling, so he's got 3. And not to say
down the leg side, that one was. That was a little touch on the glove down the leg, and they reviewed that. They were smart enough to review it. I mean, it was a very faint little touch.
Just feels good, doesn't it, having a little 3 for after bowling so quickly yesterday. Everybody's talking about him last night in the pub and so on, about this new find.
Yep.
And that's a good story for England out of this week. I heard Michael Vaughan on radio before saying, whenever England have had a 50-50 call through the McCullum era with selection, they've got it right.
Yep.
Again, they've got it right.
And the only bowler who didn't take a wicket in the first innings, so nice for him to clean up the first 3. So with McCullum, the batter rather than the coach, out injured, that means they're effectively 4 down. 97 on the board, 255 behind.
Go Harry Tector tomorrow. Tell Lords.
Yeah, I mean,
Tell Lords, Harry. Come on.
It's Tector and Tucker. I was thinking about this, like, why wouldn't you if you were those two? And it felt to a point like maybe they did, because they batted for a decent period of time. You're out here in the sunshine. It's blue sky. It's not a full house, but a decent sized crowd in. Why wouldn't you say, take a deep breath, look up at the sky, forget the score, doesn't matter. You're starting on 0. We're playing at Lords with the England Test team bowling to us. Let's just stay here for as long as we can and make the most of it.
It could have got ugly when England took those 2 wickets in and over, and it was 18 for 2. But they have shown a bit of backbone here. Another partnership of 45, the same number that they put on yesterday for the 4th wicket, today for the 3rd wicket. But yeah, spot on. Tomorrow, I was joking around on Twitter earlier saying England might declare at lunch or just after, bowl out Ireland today, and they'll be playing golf by 10 a.m. tomorrow, watching the FA Cup, Man City, Manchester United. Tomorrow's huge, right? By 3 o'clock with a pint somewhere. That's not quite played out, but Ireland's goal should be England don't get to watch the FA Cup final tomorrow.
If you want to hurt them, that's the way to hurt them.
They'll still play 36 holes of golf on Sunday, but they'll make up for the round they missed tomorrow. But don't let them watch the football live.
Okay, I like it. Now it's time for the Final Word Hall of Fame. That Hall of Fame is the most final word moments of the day, the things that we enjoyed the most. It's presented by somebody. Tell us.
Westfield London, Westfield Stratford City. They could go there tomorrow, the England team, if they finish prematurely. If they wanted to go to Westfield London, they could go to the Westwood Sports Bar. They could go to All-Star Lanes. They could go to the Putt Shack. They could go to the Putt Shack.
They'd love going to the Putt Shack.
Go to the Putt Shack, a little old place where.
Baby, yeah.
They can go to Sixers and hit some bombs. I mean, you can see them doing that, can't you? Probably not so much the England team, the Aussie team, if they finish in 3 days. Marnus and Steve Smith, let's go to Sixers. Let's go to Sixers. Well, they could, if they finish their any of the test in London later in the summer, they can do that at Westfield London over at Shepherd's Bush, where you were yesterday. Westfield Stratford City, Bat and Ball, that's also a Smith Marnus. Oh, let's go to the Bat and Ball pub, where they can play darts, pool, beer pong, normal ping pong, or table tennis as they like to call it in the Olympics, karaoke, live DJs. They can hit some dingers at the Home Run House, and they can learn more about that. You can learn more about that at westfield.com/United-Kingdom, Westfield London, and Westfield Stratford City. More extra.
Less ordinary.
Very good.
Now, Hall of Fame, I mean, for me, there are a few things you can say, bringing up the double hundred with a 6. You can talk about the McBrine figures from before.
McBrine!
maybe PJ Moore's review after being absolutely plumb, LBW stepping across his stumps in the first innings for 10, he's absolutely plumb stepping across his stumps in the second innings for 11, and he's like, no, I'm going to have a review here, halfway up middle, absolutely the most stone dead LBW you've ever seen. But you can understand why second innings of a test match. But for me, it's all about this. It's all about Stuart Broad at the end. I mean, it's kind of funny just to begin with. He's got the headband on, he's running in, he's bowling the bumpers, all the rest of it, like, trying to be threatening, like trying to be a cool kid hanging out, like, he's 35 but he hasn't left uni yet, sort of thing. And he even
sounds like you're quite familiar with people that do things like this.
He even goes
easily could have been you.
He even goes the Celebre peel for, like, it's down the leg side, it's come off the shirt of Harry Tector, and he just does the full run through to the keeper and then turn around like, what do you mean it's not out? And then they talk about reviewing for the full 15 seconds, then they review, then it's not out. And so then he's just got his leg side completely stacked by Stokes. They've got effectively 7 on the leg because they've got a long stop who's just like 1 foot to the offside so that they can run across and be a fine leg. And then they've got 6 out in all kinds of different configurations so he can bowl the bumper, which he does. And it's Lorcan Tucker on strike by this point. And he just calmly rocks back and clobbers the pull shot for 4. It was a beautiful sequence across that over. The second last over of the day that Broad was bowling. I loved all of it.
May that be a bit of a sign of what might come tomorrow. 2 things for me. One is the bucket hats they were wearing this morning. All the England team rocked up to the ground, and their new kit sponsor gave them these England style. If you really love them, field in them. That's what I say. Field in a bucket hat akin to the old terry towelings that you used to see in the 70s and 80s. It can probably work with this England team.
What about a bucket hat that instead of having the beer cans on the side, you've got like a Red Bull bucket on either side, like a Koh beach party style thing. Maybe some big curly straws that winds down from it into your mouth. Do that in Test cricket.
That's Bazball.
That's Bazball.
And the other one I've got, this is a tweet from Paul Frame, who's been a good supporter of the show over the journey. Pope dominates Ireland. He says it could be the front. It could be the wait for it. It could be the front and back page of the paper tomorrow. The back page for obvious reasons. The front page, the 2022 census results came out from Ireland today. 69.1% Roman Catholic.
Nice.
Nice indeed.
Is that a legitimate form of contraception? Things to ponder, much to ponder.
The final word Hall of Fame is for Westfield London and Westfield Stratford City. More extra, less ordinary. That has been the final word daily. Day 2, Lords here between England and Ireland. In all probability, it'll be day 3 and out tomorrow. If you like what we do, patreon.com.
In all probability, is there a way that it's not day 3 and out tomorrow?
They might. Well, Tucker and Tector.
Bat all day.
Tucker and Tector bat all day and set some records. Don't rule it out. What was I saying? Yes, if you like what we do, patreon.com/the final word. We've recorded our history show today as well. It's very good, if I do say so myself. That will be in the feed tomorrow morning, London time. If you're new to what we do, that's where we take the numbers and the stories of the game and we go for a wander for a couple of hours. It's for us. Good night from Lords. Goodbye, farewell, amen, ta-da.
Auf Wiedersehen.